Deloitte's published 2 reports now in Canada looking at the Canadian marketplace and what's happening and what we project is going to happen in the Canadian marketplace. You know, at a $7 billion plus kind of economic development piece, it's going to be a very interesting industry as we take a look at it. Everybody at the time we did the survey had not put their processes in place, had not put their regulatory framework in place, and as we know, things are pivoting very, very quickly.
I think for us, the biggest challenge is that to get this done, it requires the federal, provincial, and municipal cooperation of 3 levels of government. So anytime you have even 2 of those, it becomes complicated, but with 3, it's very, very complicated. So as I think you mentioned, or was mentioned before, you've got a federal regime that's obviously transitioning on October 17th, but then you have provincial regimes which are all a little bit different in how they purchase the product and whether they wholesale to retailers and at what price and that kind of control mechanism, right down to municipally, which is our experience in Alberta was that each municipality kind of did their own thing, which was a little time consuming to get through.
We've been really fortunate now to lead 2 companies. But New Brunswick as a province, the city of Moncton as a whole, has really supported the industry. They see it as a job creation. You know, Atlantic Canada has been hit with some hard times over the last, decades plus in terms of, in terms of unemployment levels. And this whole idea of how cannabis and medical cannabis and now moving to recreational cannabis could help foster job creation, become centers of excellence.
In terms of the opportunities that retail brings to communities, every store that we open creates about 20 to 30 jobs for each retail location. There's about $1 to $2 million of capex and real estate investment that we're putting directly into those local communities. So that's contractors and electricians, plumbers, not to mention the volunteering and the engagement that we do with local businesses in the community, in and around the locations.
We talk about illicit market and the opportunities in front of us to help to tackle that. And really it's access, right? That's a big component of this is the municipal involvement in opening up retail stores, and safety and the security and the community safety is absolutely critical, I'm sure, in everybody's approach to how we do this. And I could say some of the challenges that I've seen, there are many barriers to the retail landscape in terms of achieving licensing and retail licensing.
One, we need decision makers like yourselves to understand what we're up against. We need competitive pricing, and I think, this 2.3% regulatory fee caught a lot of people by surprise. We need a more frank and engaged conversation, and I hear this, with you as well, with governments.
On the branding, I think what's interesting is that, we all understand that there's a slow and kind of initial conservative approach to branding and what that looks like. And, but as Pierre said, we're competing with a very sophisticated black market that has comprehensive brands that are online that you can purchase online and be delivered to your home tomorrow.
I think it's important too, as part of our market research data that we've done in Deloitte here in Canada, we asked the question about how much are you willing to pay over the illicit market, and that was about 8%. So that's all people are willing to pay, the consumers are willing to pay, at least on a go-forward basis. So I think that that's really important as you, as policymakers and shapers of policy in Canada, help look at how the tax structure, what the tax structure looks like.
It's really, as I mentioned, it's across the value chain, the investment that we're making here in Canada and the opportunities that that's going to afford for the folks in your communities and across the country, not just today, but for decades.
Unlike us, the brewers do not face a sophisticated black market. So in terms of the financial regulations and the tax burden that our industry bears, I think the wise advice would be to let's minimize the burdens that we face. Let us get up and running. Let us get up to 66% market share or 75% market share, and then we can start to rejig sort of the tax situation that our industry is facing.
In terms of regulatory burden, it's important to understand there's 4 dimensions to this. So it's not, price certainly is one that's easy to understand, and taxation is an easy thing to get your head around. But it goes back to, again, product selection. That's a regulatory burden that we have as an industry, and that goes to how you can promote. Again, as Fire and Flower being a kind of independent retailer, we have to be able to explain everyone's product, not
Yes.
Tilray's as well as Cannabis, as well as Organic Grant. We have to explain everyone's product, and you can't do that effectively with the current way we can talk about cannabis.
I think there's also going to be opportunities for craft cannabis in the same way that you would find a craft beer industry. So other economic opportunity. There's also a lot of product innovation, product development that's about to be unleashed in this country. So if you have a university, if you're in a research hub, I think there's all kinds, and you're going to find willing partners in our industry in terms of how do we design and develop the next generation of products.
And I'll certainly say I commend the Chamber for inviting us and making this part of the discussion because, as Pierre alluded to, certainly we need effective advocacy at all levels of government to help to develop this industry even further.